What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Matt is Reading. We are talking about Words of Radiance, part 4 today, and I am loving this book so far. This was definitely a transitional part for me. A lot happened, but it was really, I think, staging what's going to be a huge part 5. Wasn't my favorite part, but it had a lot of detail, a lot of character development that I really enjoyed. So one of the things we first get to see is early on in part 4 was a chapter called Fleet. And this is when Wit had come and he was telling the story about Fleet, who was outrunning a storm from coast to coast of Roshar. And it seemed like Kaladin was actually the one telling it, and Wit's kind of pulling the story out of him. I love Wit's character. Every time he pops into the story, I just get excited to hear what he has to say. It's always these weird stories, and they're always great. It's like some of my favorite chapters that I've read in the Stormlight Archives so far. Another one is another thing that happens in this part is we're seeing that continued development that happened in part 3 of Shallan's character. So now, as she is getting closer to the pattern, she's gaining more power. She has this character that she's able to take on called Veil, and it's basically a different version of herself, which kind of makes me wonder how many different versions of Shallan are there going to be. I think it's interesting and fascinating that she's able to be these different people, but I would love to not see it go in too many different directions. There's already so many different characters with different storylines, plot lines. I can't handle following 10 people within one person, but Vale's pretty cool. I like her so far. And we get more details in these flashback chapters with Shallan, and we find out that Shallan's father, he's actually ordered Heleron's assassination. Even Malaise, who's like the stepmom, she's just dumbfounded by this. Her dad seems to completely be losing it. In this part, we also get more of the Kaladin and Dalinar arc as well. And this one, I think, for me in this book is the most frustrating so far. There's going to be a payoff. I know that Kaladin's eventually going to tell Dalinar, and maybe this is why, or maybe this is how I'm supposed to be reading it. Of every time he's on the brink of about to tell Dalinar, he holds back, and every time I get brought into it, I get built up as if he's going to tell him, this is it, this is the moment, and then it doesn't happen. So I found it frustrating again in this part, but I know that's eventually going to happen. I'll just enjoy it whenever it comes. This part of Shallan's character that we also see is this. You're kind of seeing a lot of these Knights Radiance as they're, you know, building their power, is the types of things that they're going to be able to do. Shallan, she uses this, ability to take on other people's personas to be able to sneak, and she sneaks all the way into the Ghostbloods, and there she meets this madman, which I believe we've already seen this person before, and I think that this is a herald, one of the heralds, and he interestingly freaks out whenever he sees Stormlight, and then Amram pops in, and it seems that Amram is a much deeper character than we know so far. I thought that Amram was going to eventually die early on, and now I'm kind of wondering if he's going to have a long, um, if he's going to be in these books for a really long time. He seems to know a lot about the honor blades. He knows about the ghost bloods. He knows all these different things, and that's being revealed to us kind of just out on a platter, which I'm fine with. Is we just find out more than Amaram knows. A couple interesting things happen where Kaladin, he gives his shard plates to Moash. This is the second time that Kaladin basically says, no, I don't need these shard blades. I don't need shard plates. I don't need any of that stuff. I'm just going to give it away to somebody else. And it's interesting that he gives it to Moash, because Moash, while he's a part of Bridge 4, a trusted friend, he just doesn't seem like someone who should have these. So we'll see how that plays out, giving Moash that type of power when he seems to be kind of a pistol at all times. And one thing that happened with Dalinar in this part was his wife's name is mentioned, but we don't know her name. It's literally like he can't hear it. We can't read it. We have no idea who it is, which was really literally cool. That I'm reading the book and I'm like, oh, it's not there. We don't know who her name is, alongside Dalinar. So it's, yeah, just cool to see that. Wit shows up again. It, there's got to be more, because right now, Wit is truly just Wit with Dalinar. But when he talks with Kaladin, you can see that Wit is a much deeper person than just the court jester. So excited to see that. And then Kaladin, he starts falling away from his the words that he had spoken, and Syl, it seemingly dies. I don't want to believe it at this point. I don't think that this is going to end up happening, but seems very clear. The Stormfather says so. So she's seemingly dead, but we can move on to the interludes, and then I'll provide some thoughts and predictions on what's going to happen at the end of this book. So 2 interludes I'm calling out is the one with Eshonai. This is where she's changed. She's taken on storm form now. And it seems very dangerous. Seems like she's not able to control it. There's this voice that's in the back of her head or within her that is speaking that she doesn't find comfortable. But all the others who are wearing storm form, they seem more comfortable with it, as if they either wanted to be wearing it or have worn it before. It's one thing that I'm thinking, like maybe they have worn the storm form before and they are comfortable with it, whereas Eshonai might not have ever worn this storm form. Teravanisgan, the one who he's the king in book 1, seemingly an idiot whenever you're talking to him. An interesting idiot, though, not just a dumb idiot. But we see why that is in this part, is that each day he wakes up with different levels of intelligence. Some days he's this genius, and then other days he's literally so dumb he can't get out of bed. Super cool. Whenever he's at his most genius mode, he writes out this diagram, scribbles it all over the walls all around him, and he lives by this diagram. He's basically worshiping a version of himself that revealed all of this information about the world and how the world works through that elevated version of himself, which makes me wonder, why is that the case with Teravanisgan? Waking up one day, seeing so many things clearly, and then the next day he's not. Is that one of the Knights Radiance? I don't know. Maybe the Knights Radiance are able to, in their final form, are able to maintain that level of high intellect at all times. That'll be interesting to see. So a couple predictions and thoughts. So I'm surprised that Jasna has not come back yet. I keep waiting for it to happen, and I thought she would come back during the book. It's a huge book. It's 1,100 pages. I thought she would come back during the book as kind of like an initial arc to get you excited for what she's going to be doing at the end. But she didn't come yet. I actually thought this was going to happen whenever Kaladin and Shallan were sharing that moment in the storm when it was just those two. I kind of thought that Jasna was going to show up during that storm with them, but she didn't. I also think that Kaladin, he will get his power back. And I think that through what's happened, he'll probably get his power back even stronger than ever. He's going to be even more stronger in these oaths that he's said, these words that he said, because he's faltered away from it. And I think that that happens with any of us. You never say like, oh, I'm going to be a person that falls away from the commitments that I make. But when that happens, it reveals to yourself, like, when I make commitments, I need to go through with them. And I think that you're going to see a little bit of that with Kaladin as well. So while she seems dead, I don't think that Syl is actually dead. How she's going to come back, I have no idea, but I can't wait for it because I miss Syl already. This was part 3, or I'm sorry, this was part 4. Part 5 is going to be coming soon. And then at the end of this book, I'm planning on doing just kind of like my overall thoughts, spoiler-free review of this book in particular. But I'll just say, to give a little spoiler to a future video, I have been loving this book so far. It's my favorite of the first 2, at least, but hopefully 3, 4, and 5 will end up being even better than this. But I've been enjoying the book, and hope you've been enjoying it as well. Thanks for watching. This is Matt is Reading. You can follow me on Peloton at Matt is Sweating. Matt is Sweaty. All right, we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.